3 reasons why content marketing fails. Personnel. This is a good one. And this is honestly, when it comes to failure in content marketing, it's normally not just one of the reasons. There's 3 reasons, but normally it's like a combination of 2 of them or even 3 of them. And you'll find that as I go through this, that oftentimes they're very much linked to each other. Okay, so the first one being personnel. Obviously, if you guys have ever read the book Good to Great, it talks about the right person in the right seat, or the wrong person in the right seat, or the right the right person in the wrong seat, or whatever it is. There's so many different ways that you can have somebody that has talent in some way. You put them in a seat and it actually doesn't work out for them. Maybe they're a really good worker, they have a great attitude or whatever it is, but then you put them in the wrong seat and then they look like they're failing at what they're doing. But it's just because they're not skilled enough to be in that specific seat. And in the world of media, especially like video content or social media marketing, there's so many seats within that realm. Normally, especially in-house teams, like I work with a lot of people on a consulting basis that I help consult their teams where they'll have a video editor, they have an actual like marketing director, then they have somebody that runs the camera, somebody that posts the content, a social media manager. Oftentimes, that's the best way to go about it. Very few times can you find what I call a unicorn that can actually manage all of those things in one. It's hard to come by. It's going to cost you a lot of money if you find that person, if they know what their value and their worth is. But at the end of the day, normally a video editor is not going to be excellent at posting content. They're probably not going to be consistent with it. They aren't going to be good at writing copy. They're not going to be good at ideation and that sort of thing. We have to make sure we understand the proper roles for each person, have them in the right seat. So that could be a project manager, a marketing director. I will say this, in the years that I've done what I do believe it's very important for people to have, and especially me as a service provider, if I'm working with a client, I ask for a point of contact. Typically going to be a project manager, a COO, a marketing director, preferably marketing director, so that marketing director can tie in what we do for a service into what they're doing, maybe on paid traffic, maybe on email marketing, or whatever it is that they have going on the other side, the stuff that we don't manage, because you can now marry all of it together, but you have one point person on your team. Because as much as I want to, like, I can service people at a very deep level, but there's only so far I can go because I'm not on your team. I'm not in your day-to-day office and that sort of thing. And that's why a lot of people are going to like bringing stuff in-house. However, in-house has its cons as well. It's like if you don't know how to manage a media team properly or what processes is set in place with systems, that's why people use us, is because they don't want to mess with all that stuff. They want just a plug-and-play solution, and that's when they work with us. But for the people that have like an operation where it is you, this is going to be very relevant for you. You need to have somebody that's a point person that's going to really understand not just video content, but also marketing as a whole, so that they can help put these pieces together for you. Video editors, videographers, normally they can be one and the same. This is one of those areas where like a video editor can also be a videographer, and typically videographers have the skill set of video editing as well. They try to keep that all in one because it is part of the process and the whole kind of picture being created, if you will. But at the end of the day, don't be discouraged if you have a videographer and they're not very good at editing. Now, we have to understand types of editing too, because there's people that I work with where they have a videographer come on site and they shoot amazing video, but then the videographer wants to put all these bells and whistles on the video when the demographic isn't calling for that. They just want a simple like video to be put in front of them that's value-based. And you see all the like, the B-roll and the captions and all that stuff that kind of comes and gets overlaid on top of the videos. Sometimes that's not proper procedure when it comes to the type of video you should be putting out for your demographic. I always use the analogy too. There's one of my friends that I had do a lot of video for me. He's excellent at like cinematography and like landscape videography and stuff like that. But when it comes to like talking head stuff, he's not very good at editing because he takes way too long to get it done because he's a perfectionist, because he's a cinematographer, which that person will spend literally 9 to 10 hours editing one 5-minute video, where I just need like light editing done to it. So, because what I said context wise did all the heavy lifting, and you don't need to do a lot of editing to it. So a video like 5-minute video of me just doing a talking head video should take less than 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like nothing crazy like that. So we need to understand the differences there. Now, when it comes to video editors, I will give you this. This is just some hot tips that I'm kind of shooting from the hip with. With video editors, you are typically going to get what you pay for. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And thankfully, nowadays, we have a lot of help with AI. A lot of people that I work with, they use CapCut. CapCut can be great for so many things. It can be great for like just skimming through, finding a good clip, putting it together. So if you're taking like a 60-minute podcast interview and you're turning that into like 10 different clips or whatever, that can be a really good method and source for you to actually get some social media clips in the works. And then CapCut can add the captions and stuff like that. That's all really good stuff. However, you still want to make sure that there are human checks and balances in it. Right now, I would say AI is a tool and it's not the solution to your content marketing needs. With video editors, you are just going to get what you pay for, and they're going to be able to use tools. And one of the things that we'll talk about is expectations and directions. You got to make sure that you have proper processes and procedures set in place, because the last thing that you want is to hire a video editor to edit your videos, and it should be taking 30 or 45 minutes to edit a video, but they're taking 4 hours to do it. You need to ditch that person because they're not the proper editor for you. That being said, like I do have some proper procedures and I have all this stuff built out. So if you ever wanted to like get in contact with me, I'm more than happy to hop on a call with anybody that's watching and help you dial in like what makes sense from a video editor standpoint. I will tell you this, the best place that I have found to find and hire specifically remote video editors is Upwork, because there's so many filters that you can go through. You can put people through testing phases and stuff like that and pay them per project or pay them hourly or whatever if you have the proper procedures in place and SLAs. But when it comes to a video editor, I will say Upwork is probably the best. I've personally pulled a lot of video editors for my team from Upwork, and I do kind of swear I don't have any affiliate with them or anything like that. Graphic designers kind of like one, like I would say too, like graphic designers, one of those things that's going to be getting replaced very easily by AI. Video editing is still needing a little bit of human touch to it, but graphic designers, like that's one of the things that, you really don't need a superb expert, because you could tell ChatGPT to design a specific graphic for your YouTube thumbnail, craft it a little bit. Maybe you have a little bit of skill in Photoshop or Canva, and you can start to kind of craft it together. So just depends on what you need, right? Content writer. Here's the thing about content writers is most writers, they have different skill sets. I have a writer on my team that's amazing at like actual descriptions and SEO when it comes to like YouTube and show notes on podcasts, but she struggles a little bit with titling. Titling in itself is content writing. So we have to think about those. And there's like email copy, there's book copy, there's blog copy, and those, there's so many different, like social media short post copy. There's so many different styles of writing. And this again, where I think is important to point out, the era of AI can really help with this as a tool. Once again, we'll go super deep into this on Friday to talk about it, but AI is going to be a really big like asset for a lot of people when it comes to the content writing space. However, I would say still don't just rely on AI, because we want to make sure that we're, putting our human touch on it and it's running by us. All right, social media manager and R&D. I do think that it's very important, whether it is going to be you or somebody else on your team that is doing research and development, because you want to make sure you stay up with what is going on in the day today, right? So if you are, living under a rock, you probably are unaware of AI. And there's been, over the few years, I would say since COVID, there's been a bunch of different like adjustments in the algorithm, types of content, styles of content. One of the biggest things that really shocked the content space was the short form content. So when TikTok really started taking off, Reels came in, YouTube Shorts came in, and now that's like the new like content consumption is short form video like that. If you had somebody in research and development, like I do that for my clientele and for myself, but if you have somebody in research and development, maybe that's not their full-time job, but it's part of their job. Normally it's going to be like a COO, a marketing director, project manager or whatever. They could see those things coming in, and you want to make sure that they're leveraging any of those trends to help build out your presence too. So last thing I'll say is service providers, and I'm kind of speaking up for myself as well, but also for other service providers that you might be working with. Make sure that you're on the same page with them, and don't don't like make everything their fault. I'm very strategic on the people that I work with. If I sense like there's 3 core values that I have, I won't go super deep into this, but I have 3 core values. And if I'm hopping on a call to potentially talk to a lead that's going to work with us, if they violate any one of my 3 core values, I don't work with them because they don't fit my culture too. And one of those things is respect. One of my biggest core values is respect. And I've had like when I hopped on, maybe I worked with somebody for like a month and then I sensed that they just weren't listening to me. They weren't taking any of my advice. They were saying like, they want to control everything. I let them go. I say like, you go work with somebody else because that's not the best way to work with me. And obviously if you're a service provider too, like you should be listening up too, is you got to make sure you're setting proper expectations with the people that you're going to work with. For me, like I jokingly sometimes call myself an expectation manager because when I'm working with my clients, I want to make sure that I'm on the same page with them at all times. So if you are somebody that's going to be leveraging, even if you're leveraging a virtual assistant for any of these items or an internal team, make sure that you're always on the same page. Because if you're not, and don't be afraid to have hard conversations. If you don't feel like there's getting traction on anything, don't be afraid to have that conversation with somebody as opposed to just cutting it off. Like one of the worst things that you could do is you sense that something's not working and then you just cut it off as opposed to just trying to talk about it and figure it out. That's such a weak, in my opinion, cowardice move. Try to figure it out first. If you committed to doing it, then commit to doing it. And then if you have done all the proper checks and balances and tried to fix it and it still doesn't work, then cut it off. But in our society today, it's just easier to say no to things and to quit and give up. So let's not do that anymore.